Hey, how are you doing that?
Oh, look at this.
Oh, you got those in your hand.
Yeah, this is in my hands, in my mind. My mind is shaking.
They look like small Congo drums.
They are, and they were given to us by a lady named Renee.
No.
Oh, no, I'm just joking. It was given by a lady named Salena.
Yes, Salena-Hawkins.
And I play them as often as I can.
Gotcha. All
They
right.
were made in Taiwan. Well made. I don't know what's in them.
Fantastic.
I think they would put babies to sleep.
Or wake up snakes.
Wake up tonight.
All right.
Okay, well, let's get on about this here.
All right. And so, what are you reading?
We're at chapter 31 of The Snake 20. The Snake 20.
2020. 2020.
2020. And it's coming to a place.
There we go. That's cool.
Yes,
right.
It's coming to a place.
Coming to a place.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, I'm waiting.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Something to cleanse my palate.
Gotcha. Tell me about it.
Kojo dripped the arm of his chair. No. This couldn't be the stranger that Asiafo spoke of. This was a snake. Feed you what? He asked, his voice trembling. A large rat. Kojo placed his glass on the table, edged up from his seat, being careful to stay on the far side of the snake. When? Tonight, the snake whispered in a raspy baritone and slithered away. Kojo couldn't control his trembling, the sudden film of sweat that coated his face. He looked around in all directions. Chapter 31. People would think I'm out of my mind out here talking to a snake. No, I couldn't have been talking to a snake. Snakes can't talk. A rat? He wants a rat? That's what snakes eat. Rats. The trembling gradually stopped as Kojo began to reason with himself. It wasn't a mirage. It was somebody doing ventriloquism. It was real. A stranger. I'm supposed to feed a stranger. No one said anything about the form of the stranger or the shape. He thought back to the ragged, crazy-looking man in the park. I'm supposed to feed a stranger 4 times a year. That's the deal. He is going to get a snake from his local pet shop, which looks something like this.
That's a pet shop, all right.
Yes, they have little shops like this in different parts of Los Angeles, and nobody goes there to buy a live chicken in order to have Sunday dinner. Everybody knows that they're going there to buy what is called sacrifices.
Okay.
And that's where Kojo goes to get his. I'm supposed to feed a stranger, but that's the deal. A rat. Where can I find a rat? The Echo Park pet shop that I just showed you. It's a perfect time. Akosua is napping. Kojo tiptoed through the house to peek at his wife. Good, she's sleeping like a baby. Pun. The Echo Park pet shop, 6 blocks east of them. He decided to jog it rather than run the risk of starting the car and waking Akosua. Hope this place is open. Yes, of course it's open. Sunday is their day. He jogged easily, his mind tingling with ambivalent thoughts. This can't be real. I can't be running down to the street to buy a snake's dinner. The thought stunned him to a shuffling walk. A snake. spoke to me in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
No, that couldn't be. Snakes don't talk.
Time to move.
Asiafo. Hey, I heard that. Asiafo has sent me a snake to feed. He revved himself back up to a jog. Asiafo sent me a snake to feed a stranger. He felt like screaming or turning around and running back home. What would happen if I don't feed the stranger, the snake? Yes, sir, may I help you? I want to buy a rat. This way, please. The salesman led him to an off room. We keep them here so that the children won't come in and harm them. Now then, what do you have in mind? White rats with pinkish eyes, fattened for sale, cages of them. I'll take that large one there. Good choice. I call him Old Dan.
Not
Rats.
for long.
That's how close he is to the rats. Rats are very intelligent, you know. Yes, I know. The thought jarred him. Should I kill it, or... I see that you don't have a cage for your pet. Would you care to... Yes, I'll take that one over there. The rat was going to be alive. He paid, placed the caged rat in a large paper bag, and started back home. God, I hope Akosua doesn't wake up. I'd have a hell of a time trying to explain this rat. I wonder if she's afraid of rats. He tiptoed back into the house. Good, still sleeping. He went to the kitchen, cut a length of string from a ball of twine and tied it around one of the rat's rear legs. The large white rat, genetically domesticated, only sniffed at the string tied to its leg. Kojo found a short stick in the yard, staked it in place where he had first seen the snake, and tied the rat to the stake. The rat scurried around the stake, obviously looking for food. So you're hungry, huh? He hurried back inside to get a slice of bread and a dish of water. What the hell, the condemned rat ate a hearty meal. He paused to gulp a glass of wine before slicing the bread. He felt shaky, disoriented. What the hell am I doing? He carried a small dish of water and a slice of bread to the yard, trying to place the whole business in perspective. If I don't do this, I'll cut off my flow. If I don't do this, I'll cut off my flow. He came to a stunned stop at the stake. The rat was gone. He dropped the water and bread, squatted and studied the turf. The stake was there, and the string had been untied. The ground showed evidence that the rat had scratched and struggled. The snake got him, but who untied the string? Snakes don't untie strings. Kojo, telephone! In the weeks following, the law firm of Green, Shafton and Clark were kept busy trying to knead up little bundles of deals, contracts, agreements. Ms. Minerva Ferguson's women's auxiliary kicked in with $300,000. We want some of the action. The normal snags of movie making occurred, but nothing proved insurmountable. Kojo felt like a man on the crest of a wave, literally. The film was being made. Frank Goldstone and Dan Dreiser were trying to outbid each other for the chance to distribute the work. It was happening at a pace that he could never have imagined. Kojo and Akosua Ferguson Brown were hot. Ms. Muhammad, the PR expert, kept their faces in doings in the trades, the local papers, and chipped away at the major league magazines. Kojo, don't worry about a thing. By the time your film comes out, people will be panting to see it. Jonah, the musician, jumped into her creative trench and was obviously scoring a masterpiece of a score. I've invited the One Earth musical quartet with Kanda to participate in this musical feast I'm preparing. I find this very interesting to do. You know what I mean? Excuse me, I must go. My cat wants to get out. The still photographer of the films put it well when he told Kojo, I've never been a part of a set that had vibes this good. Really, never. But late at night, after the last scene had been shot, the lights clicked off. Kojo sat in the dark, imagining that he could see the black and green snake, that he could hear him say, "Feed me."
Don't worry, he's coming back.
Feed me. The thoughts of him going to buy a rat for a snake that said, "Feed me,"
Better.
made him feel as though he had done something vaguely dirty. Why should I feel like this? It's just part of the program. If it wasn't this, it would be something else. If I don't do what I'm supposed to do, the thing won't work. Or would it? He felt tempted to disregard the agreement he had made with Asiafo. What sense does it make? I'm just being superstitious, that's all. But he couldn't shake off the obligations he felt. I agreed to get married within 3 months. I did it. I agreed to feed a stranger 4 times a year. I fed 2 strangers this year, that nutcase in the park and the snake. Was the nutcase really a stranger or just a crazy man begging for sushi in the park? The snake was definitely a stranger. I don't even have to think twice about that. But was the nutcase a stranger? Have I
The way
only
he
fed one
ate
stranger?
and the way he walked away.
That's what he did.
Yes,
He did the little serpentine.
Yes. That was his first.
Oh.
Yes.
Mm.
He should know.
Thank you for that. Secretly, he prayed against the idea of snakes as strangers. Please don't send me more snakes. In addition, he was beginning to feel a secret guilt. What if I told Akosua that I married her because it was part of a deal that I made with a man in the forest? How could I tell these intelligent people I'm working with that it's all happened because of a deal I made with a man in the forest? Is it really happening because of the deal I agreed to? He carefully thought out a way to rebel against the deal and quickly shelved it. How can I rebel against something that's paying off like this? But what is paying off? Would it happen anyway? That was the thought that nagged him. The thought that nagged him was having made a deal with this man, Asiafo, the wizard, the man that he had made the deal with in the forest of northern Ghana. Asiafo, the wizard.
Yes.
If I had come back from Africa drunk on the stick the way I did, maybe it would be happening just the way it's happening. Maybe. The last month of the year found them blazing away creatively. It's like pure distillation, I'm telling you, Kojo, like a pure distillation. Funny that you would see it that way. I think of it like having a baby. Without any morning sickness, I hope. Definitely. Once again, the snake came unexpectedly. It came to him during his morning workout in the Echo Park District playground. He was doing his usual handstand against the trunk of a tree when he spied the familiar coil of black and green. He came down from his handstand and tried to ignore the snake. He did a slow pan of the playground, a grandmother type pushing a baby buggy through. Feed me. The by now familiar raspy voice grated Kojo's nerves, made the hair on the back of his head stiffen. I already fed you. Feed me. Feed you what? Where? A rabbit in the yard. The snake answered and slithered away. Kojo stared at the disappearing reptile with angry tears in his eyes. So I'm supposed to feed a stranger 4 times a year, right? For how many years? Hey, you're no stranger, you're a damn snake and I've seen you before. You're not a stranger. Kojo turned to stare into the curious faces of 2 mothers bringing their toddlers to the playground. Bet they think I'm just another crazy on the loose. Who knows, maybe I am. A fucking rabbit.
This is not a rat.
The movie was fixed in his mind. You could see the beginning, the middle, and the end of it. It was the story of a man who had made a promise to a supernatural force, a promise he didn't want to keep. How do you make a story like that interesting? I've supplied the damn snake with a rat and a rabbit. A strange man comes to the back door with a sign in his hand. I will work for food. A stranger? I will work for food. Why food? Why not money? And of course we had to let him work for food. Feed the stranger 4 times a year. Which stranger? How many years? The strain of his thoughts was beginning to make him noticeably irritable. Akosua wrote it off as a result of the pressures from filmmaking. They were well into it now. All of the elements were cohesing. Kojo had the center and his 2 assistants were on the wings. Kojo saw it as a neat job of sewing elements together. We want to have a seamless work, a work with all of the signposts pointing very artistically to a very clear and perfect logic, a very definite logic. He worked out a distribution deal with Charlie Bascom.
Okay.
It was either him or one of the others. They're all the same. The thing about Charlie is that he's a bigger asshole than most, and that's what we need. Busy, busy, busy. The office in the loft suddenly seemed smaller with the influx of workers. The home phone rang constantly. Kojo, you think we should ask the sister to come back from PR, from that PR pistol for a minute? It's too late now. She has us booked until we go to the hospital. Kojo Bediako Brown was the head of the operation, but he knew how to relegate authority. My dad gave me an excellent piece of advice years ago. Don't work with people you can't trust. And during the course of one casual interview with a local columnist, he almost put his foot in his mouth. The question that provoked the problem was, and to what do you attribute your success? Asiafo's manic laughter, the green and black snake, the demands on him almost caused him to blurt out the story of the deal. Akosua took note. What was that all about? Sounded like you were about to say something other than, I attribute my success, such as it is, to my family and my wife. Yeah, you know how it is. I just had my mind on a half dozen things at one time. A rabbit in the yard. Back to the pet store. Welcome. Looks like you're really building up quite a collection, Mr. Jones. Oh, Mr. Jones? Well, we have the white bunnies here and the great Belgian hares. Oh, I'll take a bunny. Very good, sir. Will that be all for you? Yes, yes. Where can I hide a rabbit? He sat in his car trying to find an angle. If I take it to someone's house, they'll be sure and ask Akosua one day, what happened to the rabbit? He drove aimlessly to the ocean. It was 8 p.m. He left the rabbit in the back seat of his car with a half dozen carrots, a bowl of water, and strolled along the beach. It was a rare short day, but they had worked all night the night before. Damn, what a hell of a crew I have. They're willing to do it until it's done right. That's the only way. The clear December ocean air was bracing, caused him to dig his hand deep into his pockets. How do I do this? Keep the rabbit in the car until Akosua goes to sleep. What? The absurdity of the dilemma caused him to laugh aloud. What kind of madness is this? He turned away from the ocean and walked back to his car, the problem still unsolved. He opened the car and looked at the rabbit on the floor, contentedly munching on a carrot. Little black pellets scattered all around. Damn. Rabbit crap. Now I have to get the car clean. He drove off thinking about his problem and the future scenes to be shot. It should be a wrap by the end of this next month. Yes, of course, some people will look at the film as though it was some sort of odd thing, a documentary perhaps, but that's the risk one has to run whenever you do anything new and different. Can you give us some idea of the basic story of your film? Well, actually, 3 interwoven stories, and they are viewed by the eyes of a wise old man. You're listening to Family Ties on KPFK 90.7 on your radio dial. And our guest this evening is Brother Kojo Bediako Brown, the writer, director, producer of a film that will be released sometime within the next 3 months. That'll be closer to 6 months. After all that worrying, it was all for nothing. Akosua had gone over to her mother's, had a late dinner, and spent the night in her old room, making her mother ecstatic. And the greedy snake got his rabbit the minute I turned my back, or else he escaped. About 6 months. Okay, this is Rick Sands of Family Ties, and we invite your questions for our guest, Kojo Bediako Brown. I see a red light on number one console. Go ahead, caller. You have a question for Brother Brown? Yes, my name is Kwame Sekou Toure II, and I want to ask the brother if the film he has almost completed is going to be a Negro-centric thing or a black thing. Brother Brown, how would you respond to that? I'd simply like to say that we don't see the film as a Negro-centric or black thing, but rather as an African-American statement. Amazing how parochial some of the brothers can be. Thank you, brother. Next caller, go ahead, please. Yes, my name is Letitia Kaladifa, and I'm calling to congratulate the brother and sister Akosua for pulling together in a way that they've done. Far too often we have the sad story of the brother who has made it, turning to the white girl as though she represented the pinnacle of some kind of achievement. I've just finished reading a wonderful story on Brother Brown and Sister Akosua in African American life, talking about the sister's literary accomplishments and the success that the brother has been having. I think that we as a people must address ourselves into the idea of entrepreneurship, no matter whether it be in wholesale sales or the visual media, such as filmmaking. Sister Letitia, we appreciate your observations and comments, but I'm afraid we've come to the end of our time. Once again, this is Rick Sands, and you've been listening to Family Ties, 90.7 KPFK on your radio dial. I'd like to thank our guest, writer, producer, director, Kojo Bediako Brown, for sharing his gems of wisdom this morning. Till next time, remember, keep the family ties together. From the radio station to the office to answer a dozen calls, a meeting with the assistant directors. They all felt they were involved with something new and extraordinary. The assistants were being given the opportunity to stretch their imagination to the max within the framework of Kojo's design. You have to sit with Juna for an hour. The thing looks like it's almost ready to go into the editing room. Suddenly, the late nights that frequently saw them yawning at dawn was coming to an end. The middle section had seemed glacial, but now the ending was a pebble starting the avalanche. Akosua had retreated to the office setting. You don't need a pregnant woman on the set. It was a whirlwind feeling, and it was compounded by the drummed-up drama of the holiday feeding frenzy. There was something seriously ludicrous, he felt, about people racing around Beverly Hills to one shopping mall after another to take themselves further into debt. No wonder the Japanese are able to kick us in the ass so hard. While we run around pretending that a little red-faced man with a white beard wearing a red snowsuit is going to make us happy, the Japanese are lined up at the savings window. And what is it really about? Something that had something to do with Jesus Christ's birthday. That seemed to be the last thing anyone carried a feeling for. Akosua felt like a traitor because she was forced to join the frenzy for a minute. Kojo, if I don't get them something, they'll think that I've become anti-Claus or something.
Okay.
Kojo didn't have the problem. Stray members on the fringes of the family celebrated Christmas, but for him, for his family, it had always been Kwanzaa and New Year's, Yamaya, at the beach. Kojo, don't even think about all these sick Euro holidays that our people have been conditioned to celebrate. Thanksgiving is the most terrible example. No, it wasn't the Christmas buying frenzy that he was concerned about. He was concerned about bringing the film in a few dollars under the budget. So far, so good. They had pulled the belt as tight as it could go. No one had goofed off, and the results were about to be taken to the editing room. Kojo left the office aloft, feeling almost euphoric. It's all happening. It's all happening. My vision is becoming a reality. My wife is going to have a baby. We're going to have a baby and get rich too. He made an impulsive stop at Trader Joe's in Echo Park. Be a nice thing to have a good bottle of wine home, take home. Wonder what Akosua's doing for dinner. Akos put all of it on hold for the hour, the phones, all of it. We're going to have dinner, sip some wine, and lap up the sunset. I'm with you all the way, baby. It was the first time in weeks that they were able to share their lives without interruptions. They knew it would only be for a moment or two, but that made it even more precious. Kojo studied his wife's movement as she walked out into the yard. Her shape had changed, but she's still graceful. How many months? 7 months? It won't be long now. Linguine and clams? How did you know I wanted pasta? I know my man. She answered and gave him a lascivious wink. They ate and drank, keeping the unwritten, unspoken rule of no business this evening. Linguine and clams, garlic bread, antipasto, a good French wine. The lush colors of Fellini's Roma, the art of Marcello Mastroianni and Giancarlo Giannini, Sophia Loren, and Vittorio De Sica. Victor Storaro flooded his senses as the flavors of the food mingled in his mouth. Of course, if you wanted an African-American woman, you'd be the best Italian cook in California. I don't see any contradiction there. They shared the laugh and sipped their wine. Bread, love, and chocolate. Dark eyes. La dolce vita. Rimini. Bitter rice. Mambo. Wonder what happened to Savannah Mangano. Last time I saw her was in Dark Eyes, the Italian-Russian thing with Marcello Mastroianni. That's what I'd like to do, an Italian-American Sinhalese thing. Or African-American Ghanaian film. Or maybe an African-American, African-Brazilian thing. What's the secret of the smile about, sweetheart? Oh, I don't know. I was just thinking about all the good things happening to us. Akosua circled the table to drape her arms around his neck. Kojo, I love you so much. He led her around the chair to sit on his lap. I'm too heavy. No, you're not too heavy. They held each other. Kojo placed his hand on her stomach. Such a hard, tight ball. Akosua nuzzled her nose into his neck. Kojo, looking past his shoulder into the border of flowers, shivered when he spotted the black and green blur of the snake. For a moment, he felt a deep sense of revulsion about himself, the dirty deal that he had made in order to claim fame and fortune. And I can't lie to myself about it, not after feeding the damn thing rats and a rabbit. I'm in it as deeply as I can be. Kojo, I'm going to take a shower and a little nap. You want to join me? Just as soon as I finish off another glass of Vouré. She planted a solidly erotic kiss on his lips and strolled into the house, winking at him over her left shoulder. Just look at this woman, 7 months pregnant, and she's become sexier every day. Chapter 32. The snake. The snake. He stared at the bordered underbrush. I did see it. What the hell is it hanging around here for? He sipped his wine, frowning at the sunset. I would like to suggest that you go and turn off the oven. Yeah. He sipped his wine, frowning at the sunset. A month later, into the new year, While doing his early morning capoeira workout, the snake appeared, casually flicking his forked tongue. Kojo froze in place. Now what? A goat? No, I'm not gonna feed you again. The snake slithered away. Kojo stood in place, trembling, sweating, the workout forgotten. Why me? Damn it. He draped a towel around his neck and started the uphill walk home. I've already fed the damn thing 4 times. But that was last year. A small voice whispered at the back of his head. Last year, this is New Year. The New Year meant a few crucial scenes for grandfather's eyes had to be reshot, the editing completed, arguments happening with Charlie Bascom about the final cut. Kojo, you've got to admit, it's a pretty rare situation we have here where the guy who's responsible for making the distribution deal of the decade doesn't really know what the fucking movie is about and has no way to, and has no say-so about the final cut. You begged into the picture, Charlie, remember? The music was going straight ahead with Magical Juna and the One Earth musical group. Yes, it's all coming together. Why should I cater to a damn snake? I must be out of my mind. Shower, shave, off to the loft. Kojo Jackie has me scheduled to speak to a women's group this afternoon, and then I have the literary number to do this evening. Good, I'm glad she decided to focus on your side of the screen for a while. She was wearing me out. She'll get back to you next week, have no fear. Does the woman ever sleep? Agreements made, contracts to read, an appointment with the lawyers, Green, Shafton, and Clark, a visit to the hospital to cheer up Thelma and Agatha, the super office manager who was recovering from a slight case of fatigue. Editing, things to do. He backed out of the driveway and almost rolled over the 3-year-old. The mother screamed, froze his foot on the brakes. He watched the woman snatch her baby up and scurry across the driveway. They exchanged mean looks. You almost ran over my baby. You shouldn't allow your baby to walk across driveways by herself. He felt unnerved by the experience. God, how would you feel killing a baby? The thought caused him to become more cautious at stop signs, drive a little slower than usual through the city streets. Well, the holiday madness is behind us for a while. Let's see what the new year has in store. He came off the freeway at Slauson and immediately pulled over to let the screaming fire truck pass. Always something happened in South Los Angeles, formerly called South Central Los Angeles. He was surprised to see the truck make a blistering right turn a few streets ahead of him. History. He accelerated. What the hell is this? He turned the corner to find it blocked off, fire trucks and police cars in the way. He backed up, whipped around to the next street, and ran back to the loft. Let me through, I'm the owner. Sorry, pal, no one comes through here till the fire department finishes their work. But I'm the owner. It doesn't matter who you are, you can't get through. For a split second, Kojo thought seriously of punching the policeman in the face. It was a moment he didn't surrender to. Let him through, one of the firemen called to the policeman. You say you're the owner? Yes, what happened? The fireman strode to the side of the building with him. The neighborhood folks' excitement passed, drifted away. Well, number one, the damage isn't all that great. Luckily, it's more a case of more smoke than fire. Can we go inside? Any damage there? Most of the fire was contained in the rear here. Looks like an electrical short-circuit fire offhand, but we haven't completely checked the premises. Kojo took a deep breath and released a sigh of relief to find the office and office equipment intact, except for a few large puddles of water. You were lucky. Somebody spotted the smoke right away and called in. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Efficiently, the fireman cleared the space, rolled up the hoses, and left Kojo to look closer at the scene. You were really lucky.
No.
I'll have to give Thelma a bonus when she gets out of the hospital for spacing those metal file cabinets and insisting on the proper covers for everything. A fire, electrical short circuit. And where is everybody? 11 a.m. Sunday morning. Wow, I must be slipping. Even the members of our production company have to take some time off. He strode through the space, consciously trying to block certain thoughts out of his mind. Almost ran over a baby this morning. A fire in the office. No connection. All of this is just pure coincidence. He sprawled on one of the office sofas, wishing that he had somebody to talk to. What's wrong with me? I got hundreds of people to talk to. He called his parents. What are we doing? Just sitting around waiting for you and Akosua to pay us a visit. See you in 15 minutes. He secured all of the exits and tripped off to try to find a few answers to a few questions. Dad, you were into herpetology at one point, weren't you? Yeah, you know how it is when you run a bookstore. You'll have things grab you for periods of time. You pick up a book about something you didn't know anything about, and one book leads to another book. The next thing you know, you're some kind of an authority. Your mother was one of the country's hippest hypnotists at one point. And Jingo, remember your hypnotic period? Make fun if you want to. If I'd had more time, I probably could have hypnotized you even. That would be the day. Kojo laughed with his parents, the pressure forgotten for the moment. Kojo, you staying for a late lunch? By all means. Well, let me go whip something together. Make it hypnotic. She playfully spanked her husband on the shoulder, leaving the room. Mom and Dad. I hope Akosua and me are like you two when we mellow out. Now, what's this thing about the snakes? Well, we're dealing with a couple scenes that deal with snakes. Well, where do you want to start? Kojo toyed with the idea of beating around the bush, abandoning the idea and decided to head straight in. How often do snakes eat? His father gave him a curious look for a moment. A lot depends on the size of the snake, the type of snake, and the size of the meal. A fair-sized anaconda can swallow a small deer and not eat. You need to eat for 3 or 4 months. So theoretically, a certain kind of snake of a certain size would only have to eat maybe 3, 4 times a year. Father Brown pursed his lips, frowned a bit, considering the question. Yeah, theoretically, there's no evidence of greed in snakes, unlike some other species of beings. Kojo gave his father a full look of attention, his signal that he wanted to know more. The snake, Kojo, the snake is a very interesting figure in everybody's mythology. We have the Christian thing with the snake in the Garden of Eden, of course, and a whole bunch of other cultures with similar myths. They've always been considered something to link to something evil. I guess it's based on the way they look and move. They're feared and worshipped, hated and worshipped. Did you ever see the documentary of a group of people in Burma, they called it back then, I think they call it Miramar now, who made a pilgrimage once a year to a cave where some kind of a giant species of snake lived. I don't remember if it was a cobra or not, but it was huge. What color was it? White, I remember that, white and huge. Anyway, a woman was designated to lure the snake out of the cave and kiss it on the head 3 times. I think the reason for doing it was to ensure that they would have a successful harvest or something like that. Tiny Asian woman, making moves like the snake itself, faints back and forth at the mouth of the cave. After a few minutes, the snake lunges out at her. Huge thing. It must have been 9 feet long and thick barrel. The snake strikes at the woman and she dodges. The snake strikes, she sidesteps. It was like watching a Balinese temple dance. After a few attempts to strike her, they settled into a calm state. The snake, who was holding himself higher than her, lowers his head and she makes the first kiss. I never saw this. I'm sure I would have remembered if I had. I'm sure you would have. The second she kisses the snake's head, he's aroused again, rears up and strikes at her. He misses, and they get into the little dance again. 3 times she did it, 3 times. I thought about all the kinds of crazy things, trick photography, stuff like that. But no, this was real. After she had performed the last kiss, she backed off and the snake slid back into the cave. It looked like it had been choreographed. When they did the close-up of the woman, you could see venom all over the front of her clothes. Maybe it was a giant species of spitting cobra, I don't know. But I will never forget the sight of this sticky stuff on the front of her dress and the totally drained expression on her face. She looked as though she had been in a fist fight with a giant snake and won. Silence closed in on them for a moment, each thinking about the scene. Yeah, that was a hell of a piece of film. If my memory serves me correctly, I think I saw it at one of those herpetology sessions I used to go to years ago. Incredible thing about the snake is it has always been considered an evil messenger, a force for evil. There's no record anywhere that I know of that offers us a picture of the good snake.
Wow.
Kojo felt a slight chill grip the back of his neck. But snakes do a lot of good. They eat rats. That's right. They help stabilize the balance that makes nature work the way it does. But once we take the creature out of the desert and the fields, he becomes an evil demon in league with wicked spirits. How do you feel about that? The snake is a message of evil and all of that. Kojo smiled at his father's meditative pause. He acts just like his father. Kojo, I'll be perfectly honest with you. When I was younger and less romantic, I was tempted to look for logic in everything. Now that I'm older and I've experienced so many unbelievable things, I find myself believing in things I would have laughed at years ago. If someone had told me about a little woman in Southeast Asia kissing a giant snake on the head, I would have looked for some logical reason for it. Now, I see it for what it is. To get back to your question, no, I don't think that snakes are inherently evil, but, yes, but I have to feel that there must be a bit of fire in that smoke somewhere. I mean, if people all over the earth have come out with negative stuff about the serpent, they must know something, or they've found out something. I can put a special trust in the so-called primitive people. These are the ones who've lived in the same environment with the snake. They know him. And if they have a mythology that stresses his evil side, well, if you gentlemen put your snake talk aside for a moment, we can have lunch. Kojo, would you like a glass of white wine? Oh my God, Kojo, what happened? Just a clumsy move. I was coming in from the backyard and tripped up the steps. The problem is this balloon in front of me. I couldn't see the steps. No big thing, a little gash on the head, a warning to be a little more careful. Kojo folded her into his arms. Be careful, baby, please. I don't want anything to happen to you. I almost ran over a baby. We had a fire in the office. 2 or 3 other potentially disastrous things have happened. My wife stumbled up the steps and gashes her head.
That's a sign.
Okay, Asiafo, you win. He went for his workout a half hour earlier feeling antsy. The workout was half-hearted. He had his mind on half a dozen other things. How in the hell do I communicate with this damn thing to tell it that I surrender? You want to fucking go? You got it. He finished his workout, draped a towel around his neck, and sat at the base of a tree waiting. What if the damn thing is angry with me? What if it doesn't come back? How can I square myself? After a half hour of anxious waiting, he reluctantly decided to pack it in for the day. He looked over his shoulder at the last place he had seen the snake. Now what? The rest of the day was spent dealing with one small catastrophe after another. Kojo, would you believe it? These idiots have sliced through our telephone lines. I knew something like this was going to happen when I saw them digging up the street. Idiots! That would be cool. How long would it take them to put us back in business? Tomorrow at the earliest, the day after at the latest. Be cool. We shall overcome. Kojo replaced the phone in his cradle, tilted his chair back, tented his fingers under his chin and frowned. I goofed. I should have done what I was asked to do. What does he want? A goat? Later that day, after a full day in the editing room and a light dinner of curried fish, Kojo sprawled in his backyard chair. Kojo, I'm going in. I feel like reading a bit. You want anything? No, I got a big glass of San Antonio Red. That's about all I need for the moment. Hey, looks like that cut on your head is almost gone. Yeah, I'm using aloe vera, miracle stuff. Good, be with you in a bit. He watched her go into the house feeling melancholy, blue. He and Ed Burris had carefully studied crucial footage and discovered a gruesome number of mistakes. Wow, how did that get in there? He sat up slightly as the snake slithered across his line of vision. The snake gathered itself into a tight coil 10 yards in front of him and seemed to be waiting. Kojo slugged a half of his wine down, tried to avoid looking at the snake for a minute, and then suddenly asked in an irritated tone, "Where? What time?" "Very par, near the tennis courts. Dawn tomorrow." And slithered away. Kojo remained in place, gritting his teeth. Damn. Where in the hell am I supposed to find a goat at dawn?
Let's do it.
He ground his teeth together, annoyed with the idea of being forced to do something he didn't want to do. No sense in acting stupid about this. I have to do what I have to do. Let's hope the pet store has a damn goat. The clerk who had sold him the rat and the rabbit was quite willing to open shop for him before dawn for an extra $100. Are you making a ball, Mr. Jones? A what? You know, a sacrifice. He had left Akosua reeling from a heavy dream sequence. You going up to the park to jog this time of morning? I need to. I haven't been paying too much attention to my exercise program lately with the editing and all, and dawn is a good place to go clear your head. Okay, run a lap for me. He drove carefully through the heavy fog, a cold anger welling up in him. Damn. Shadowy figures jogged along the bridle path, paralleling the road. Serious joggers up here. He parked the car and pulled a small goat out of the rear. First it was rabbit crap, now I got goat shit to clean up.
Yep. That's what goats do.
That's what they do. He dropped a short length of rope around the goat's miniature horns and pulled him along. Beautiful, small, fawn-colored animal with that typical crazy-looking goat gleam in his eyes. He sat at a picnic table near the tennis court, allowing the goat to graze as he looked around in the hazy fog, gradually brightening to a dull blue in the east. It'll be dawn in a half an hour. What should I do? Well, I've staked the rest of them out. I guess I'll do the same with this one. He tied a firm knot around the leg of the picnic table, took a last look at the grazing animal, and started walking away. I got my stuff on. I may as well do a lap. A lap around the Griffith Park bridle path, not a marathon, but an interesting run, full of mushy spots that tortured the calves and made the jogging a challenge. Kojo did a brief warm-up and made a snap decision to run the path counterclockwise. 100 yards into his run, felt the shadow of three huge men running, grunting as they ran, slugging imaginary opponents in front of him. Whoa! This is the boxer's road work hour. And the anorexic ladies, the exercise freaks, the mad joggers, all the people who think they have a vested interest in being here. He smiled at his reasoning. What the hell am I doing here?
Hey, boy.
The sun popped over the edge of the horizon as though it was being squeezed out of a tube. The last wisps of hazy fog dissipated. Kojo settled into a comfortable stride and took in the scenery as he jogged. The early golfer. God, what a strange game. There must be something to it if so many people love it the way they do. The coyote making cat-like movements 30 yards to his left front intrigued him. He knows that I don't have a weapon, that I'm simply an innocent jogger who wishes him well. Mm-hmm. Animals have more sense than people.
Mm-hmm.
By the time he returned to his starting point, so many things had whirled through his mind that he almost jumped in his car and drove off to go. It was a half hour past dawn, the fog was gone, and the sun's rays promised a hot day. Kojo ran to the picnic table where he had tethered the goat. He picked up the end of the rope that had been wound around the goat's horns. The rope had been untied, the way the rat and the rabbit had been untied. Mm-hmm. Kojo dropped the rope and strode to his car humming a tuneless little tune. He felt greatly relieved. February, the second month of the new year, and our production company was on the verge of releasing its first feature film, My Grandfather's Eyes. There's still some editing to be done, but basically we have what I was shooting for. It was post-production time to make sure all of the I's have been dotted and all of the T's crossed. Kojo and Akosua frequently fell into each other's arms at the end of the day, delightfully fatigued. Mm-hmm. Of course, have I told you about my 5-year plan? No, tell me about it. I want to make 4 films over the next 5 years. Mm. When this is finished, I want to take a 3-month break and jump right back into the saddle. Sounds somewhat ambitious to me. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? There felt something magical about the fact that they had worked like fiends to come up with a film. Let's hope it's worth world class. How can you doubt it with the people you've had work on it? Mm-hmm. You look at my 5-year plan repertory group. Do they know that? Well, not yet, but I suspect most of them have heavy suspicions. You know, I always admired the way Bergman, Wertmuller, and a couple other European filmmakers have kept the same crews together for years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Seems that the only time we've done that is on TV, never in movies. Mm. You ever see any of the old Milton Berle, Sid Caesar, Imogene Coca, Jackie Gleason things? Once or twice, my parents took me to see a revival of Sid Caesar's shows 10 of his best at the Fine Arts Theater. Mm. They laid me out. Mm-hmm. The show was back on the road. The film, My Grandfather's Eyes, was scheduled for spring release. Jackie Muhammad had gone to toe-to-toe with Charlie Bascom and won. Where in the world do these Neanderthal-thinking white men come from? Mm-hmm. You know what he had in mind for the publicity poster? The thing that's going to lure people into the darkened theater? He wanted an Uncle Remus figure with a little boy perched on his knee, kind of a takeoff on Song of the South. Can you believe it? We had to circumnavigate his madness to put things on the proper track. All praise is due to Allah. The law firm of Green, Shafton, and Clark ran interference in negotiations concerning the split between the filmmaker and the exhibitor. Mr. Brown, I think you'll be pleased to know that Mr. Bascom has finally accepted your terms. We'll have contracts for you to sign in the coming week. Contracts, loose ends, endless details. The film, My Grandfather's Eyes, due for general release in May. Mm. Of course, why don't you pack your notebook and let's take off a few days. I don't know about you, but I need a break. I'm with you. Where to? Guatabampo. Let's go. Friday morning, 5:30 a.m., they join the early commuters feeling bright and eager to leave the problems, the frustrations, the city behind them. Kojo drove the first lap, one hand on the wheel, one hand gently rubbing Akosua's swollen belly. Is it my imagination, or do I really feel somebody kicking my hand? Nothing imaginary. The action inside here is alive. San Bernardino straight through the Imperial Valley, kicking off into Yuma, Arizona for the first leg. They were going to cross over Nogales, Arizona to Nogales, Mexico. They traveled well with each other, trading a sentence or two from time to time, feeling at ease, free. Are we stopping at Gila Bend? And that's where I'm going to stop. Until tomorrow, I bid you.
How is that? Is that a new chapter?
I understand your level of frustration.
Is that the new chapter or what?
That's the end of the chapter. And we're going to end it with the last chapter in the book tomorrow, because right now, I'm hungry.
Feed me.
And I'm going to go in here with this baked chicken that we have and eat my piece. A piece.
Feed me.
Eat my piece. A piece.
All right.
But
that
I
was
wanted
exciting.
to deliberately leave it just at that suspenseful point.
Very suspenseful point. I hope everything goes along on the trip. I mean, she's kind of big and pregnant now.
She's pregnant. He's anxious. He's still beholden to Asiafo.
Yes, he is.
He has no control over any of the supernatural happenings. He knows that now. On one level, the filming seems to have gone pretty well, but there's no guarantee that the whole thing just might fall down through a rabbit hole or something. So it's tenuous.
Yes, indeed. Well, Snake 22 can be purchased on Amazon, Barnes or Noble.
Snake 22, Snake 2020.
Snake 2020.
I think you said Snake 22.
Yes, sorry, Snake.
Calm down.
All right, coming. I'm coming. Mimba.
Time out.
Mimba. Snake 2020.
2020.
Okay, can be purchased on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Author House. Your website is www.odiehawkins.com. You are also on Amazon's authors page. You can Google Odie Hawkins and see the many wonders of Odie Hawkins, a.k.a. Rufus. And Rufus is coming back. You want to talk about that?
Are you in drinking or something?
Rufus is coming back. Naughty. Don't tell.
Lemonade in the shade,
In the shade. Indeed. Well, with that, I'm hungry too. All right. And I only had a tot.
Oh, okay.
Tot. Okay. And with that, if you like this YouTube channel, these moments in time.
Moments in time, I like that.
Please subscribe or give me a like. All right. See you.
See you for the ending tomorrow evening. Eric, Ramona, tune in. The ending is coming.
Yes, indeed.
And for all of our friends who've been patiently waiting for this to come to an end, you may have your wish tomorrow.
And thank you, Valentina. All of everybody. Wonderful. Oh, and Alfred too.
See ya.
See ya.